Today, we're going to unpack one of the most dramatic economic stories of our time. It's a tale of a stunning rise and a truly devastating fall. The story of Japan.
Okay, get this. In 1989, at the absolute peak of its power, the land in Japan was worth 4 times the value of all the land in the United States. I mean, think about that. A country smaller than California, supposedly worth more than the entire US. It's an absolutely mind-boggling concentration of wealth.
But fast forward to today, and the picture could not be more different. Japan is now the most indebted developed nation on the planet. Their national debt is a whopping 248% of their GDP. I mean, that's nearly 2.5 times their entire economic output. What a reversal, right?
So you have to ask, how on earth did this happen? How did an economic miracle, this unstoppable force, just grind to a halt and turn into decades of stagnation? Well, that's the mystery we're solving today.
All right, to really get how it all fell apart, we have to go back and see how the miracle was built in the first place. And that story, it starts right in the ashes of World War II. So in the 1940s, Japan was just obliterated. I mean, cities were rubble, people were starving, the economy was completely dead. But America had a big problem, the Cold War. Fearing Japan might fall to communism, they made a huge strategic pivot. Instead of punishing their former enemy, they decided to rebuild Japan into a shining example of capitalism. And they had a 3-step playbook to do it. First, they pumped billions of dollars into the economy. Second, they shared critical technology. We're talking blueprints for steel, electronics, you name it. And third, and this is the big one, they opened up the massive American market, giving Japanese companies an almost unlimited flood of customers for their goods. And you know what? The plan worked. It worked almost too well. Within just a few decades, Japan wasn't just rebuilt, it was a manufacturing juggernaut. By 1989, in this incredible twist, Japan had actually overtaken the US in key industries like semiconductors, controlling more than half of the entire global market. But that amazing success story, well, it created a huge problem back in the States. And that problem led to a single meeting, a single signature that would change the course of Japan's economy forever. You have to picture the scene in America. There was real panic. People felt like Japanese companies were just crushing American icons like Ford and GM, stealing jobs. The political pressure was boiling over. You had auto workers on the evening news literally taking sledgehammers to Japanese cars. Washington felt it had to do something. And that something was called the Plaza Accord of 1985. Now, in simple terms, this was an agreement to make the Japanese yen much stronger compared to the US dollar. So what does that actually mean? It means that overnight, the price of, say, a Toyota sold in America basically doubled. Just like that. Japan's biggest competitive advantage, being cheaper, was wiped out in an instant. Their entire export economy was suddenly in deep, deep trouble. Okay, so here's where the story takes a wild turn. Japan's attempt to solve this export problem, well, it created an even bigger, more catastrophic one. They traded one crisis for another and accidentally inflated one of the biggest economic bubbles in history. Here is the fatal decision. The Bank of Japan panicked and slashed interest rates, cutting them in half. The idea was to flood the economy with cheap money so companies could borrow it, innovate, and find new ways to compete. But that's not what happened. Instead of innovating, they gambled. All that cheap money got poured into speculating on stocks and real estate.
So yeah, instead of building better factories, everyone from huge corporations to ordinary people just threw that cash into the markets. The result? The Nikkei stock index went completely vertical, soaring more than 5 times over in just a few years. It was absolute pure mania.
And this tells you everything you need to know. The whole focus of the economy shifted. Even a giant like Toyota, one of the best car makers in the world, was suddenly making almost a third of its profits from playing the financial markets, not from selling cars. The country's best companies had become giant hedge funds. Finally, the government looked around and realized they'd created a monster. To try and cool things down, they did the only thing they could think of. They slammed on the brakes, hard. They jacked interest rates way up to 6%. Suddenly, the cheap money disappeared. The music stopped, and the entire house of cards came crashing down. Now, the crash itself was bad, really bad. But it was what the government did next that truly sealed Japan's fate. Their response to the crash is what created the infamous lost decades. See, the government was terrified of a total meltdown, so they refused to let these huge debt-ridden companies fail. Instead, they had the banks keep giving them new loans, just enough to pay the interest on their old loans. These companies couldn't grow, they couldn't innovate, but they couldn't die either. They were just shuffling along. They became what economists call zombie companies. And this started a truly toxic, vicious cycle. The zombie companies limped along, but they couldn't afford to innovate or hire anyone new. All they could do to survive was sell their stuff at rock-bottom prices. But that meant new, healthier companies couldn't compete with them. So nobody new could get started. Wages never went up, and the entire economy just froze for decades.
And this economic paralysis had huge social consequences. Think about it. An entire generation of young people grew up unable to find stable, good-paying jobs. And without financial security, what happens? People put off getting married, they have fewer kids, and that's exactly what happened. The birth rate completely collapsed.
And that leads directly to the demographic crisis Japan is dealing with right now. Today, more than 1 in 5 people in Japan is over the age of 70. There just aren't enough young workers coming up to support the older generation and, to power the economy.
So after all that, after decades of struggle, what's the big takeaway from Japan's story? What can the rest of the world learn from this massive cautionary tale?
Well, it really boils down to 3 huge lessons. Lesson 1, sometimes you have to let failing companies die. That sounds harsh, but propping up zombies just suffocates the new, innovative companies that need to grow. Lesson 2, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Relying too much on a single trading partner makes you incredibly vulnerable. And finally, maybe the most important lesson of all, an economy is its people. If you waste a whole generation's potential by denying them opportunity, that's a wound that's almost impossible to heal from. And that leaves us with one final, pretty urgent question. When you look around the world today, when you see countries with massive debt, aging populations, and weird-looking asset bubbles, you have to ask yourself, which economies are showing these exact same warning signs right now?